Welcome to the Imbalance Podcast, a place where we navigate the struggles and perks of single mom life, the ebbs and flows of my work in the beauty industry, quality relationships, working through personal traumas, and finding our higher purpose. Sounds like a lot of struggling? Well, it is. So grab a drink and let's try and balance it together, because who said we have to navigate through this chaos alone? Welcome to your weekly dose of mom brain, unfinished tasks, work fatigue, and simply trying to balance the unbalanceable with me, Kat, your host. So today we are going to focus on forgiveness versus acceptance. And it is the lovely 12th day of February. It's been pretty warm outside, and me and one of my girlies went to a really nice restaurant over the weekend and treated ourselves. It was called 7 Reasons, and it was very ambient. It's super cute for a date night for sure. And then also, obviously, if you just want to go chat and catch up with some friends, their food was very good. I would love to go back and try the different things that they had. I also thought the menu was super interesting. The way they had it categorized, instead of like apps, small plates, entrees, desserts, they named it like joy was first, and then it was knowledge, then it was let me look it up, hold on, because I feel like it was very interesting, and I hadn't really been to a place that did that. So and as far as the type of food, it was Latin inspired food. Okay, here we go. I be acting so millennial sometimes. It's wild. Let me see. It's not even on Yelp. Yo, they are wild. Let me look on TikTok. I think TikTok is where I originally found it anyway. Or my friend found it on IG. First of all, let's talk about Zuzu Walla. Is her name on TikTok and Instagram. Her videos are elite. I don't like her edits, and the work that she puts behind this is amazing, but she did not post the picture of the fucking menu. But that is okay. All I'm saying is, if you need a new place to go to, and the prices are like reasonable, they do have pricier things on the menu, but they also have things that are just like moderate. Drinks are $18 plus, but that's kind of where we're at right now in our society, our economy. And but yeah, it was a cute little weekend, along with my younger son's traveling basketball league. His championship playoffs were this weekend, and his team made it all the way to the end and lost the last game only by about 5 points. So it was a close call, and they lost the game to a team that is one of the best third, fourth grade teams in the US. So although it was a sad loss, I'm still very proud of him and his team, and he has such a great team, and all the parents, and we all get along, we all help each other. So shout out to Team Big. And but yeah, so let me get into today's episode. We're going to do a little bit of some self-reflection, some self-care, things like that. So if you're on a journey of self-healing and really trying to understand how you got to where you are, and maybe some things in your life are not serving you, self-reflection and self-healing is just a point where I feel like a lot of us have to get to that point so we can make changes in our life. And if you're at that point, this is a great episode for you to listen in on. So my therapist, one of my most recent therapist appointments, it sparked some thoughts for me. There are certain things in my life that have been hard to hurdle through because I wasn't willing to accept what was or what is. I have this idea of what family is, and whenever I am reminded that my idea and reality do not presently align, I feel this immense pain, sadness and shame, a lot of negative emotions circle around that. And I realized that I keep undergoing this cyclical path because I'm looking at outside factors to bring me the change that I want. Now, we can't expect others or our circumstances to change. Sometimes it is just what it is, and people are who they are. And expecting or hoping for others to change can become self-sabotaging. Instead, I needed to accept who people are around me and their unwillingness to change, or what life has led me to in this present moment. By doing that, I can then choose what actions I want to take for myself. And so can you. And this is the point, is that instead of always, revolving everything around what should be, what we thought things would be, sometimes that's just not what it is. And it's not what it's going to be in the way that we thought. So, I wanted to change that. I'm always on a path of like, if something is making me uncomfortable or not feel good, I want to change that. By no means do I want to sit here. And sometimes it's not healthy because you have to just be upset or be sad or whatever in the moment and be in that feeling and be in those emotions. But, for the most part, it's like if I can change it, I want to see what I can do to change it. And to be more specific, I'm speaking for me, the holidays come up for me, and I know the holidays have passed us already. It's already like February 12th. So, it's past, but they always come back. And as I've gotten older, the holidays have gotten quite hard for me. I try to just, chug along and pretend to be happy and excited. And, adding on to the pressure of needing to be happy is like also having children and people thinking that like, oh my God, it must be so exciting having kids during the holidays. And it just doesn't look like that or feel like that to me. And of course, I don't want my kids to know that either. So it's kind of like I have to pretend. And when I have to pretend, I do not feel good. So it's just like more worse feelings on top of more layers and layers of negative feelings. And I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I expect my life to be different than what it is right now in certain ways, and to feel more connected around the family that I do have during the holidays, but I simply just don't, and it simply isn't. Like, it's every year comes around as a reminder of the grief of what I don't have, and it just feels painful. But having this conversation with my therapist, a few tears were shed for sure, but I knew what I needed to do even before our conversation. And I have to make what is present my normal. Like we tend to, or like society tends to normalize certain things. So if your life doesn't look like that, then you don't feel normal. You don't feel like you're on the right path. But you just have to normalize your present situation. And I can't expect anything different than what it is. I know I'm not the only person that struggles with this. And so that is why I'm making an entire podcast episode about it, because I am sure there are some people who can relate and this resonates with them. So that, we could feel a sense of community and a sense of like, you know what? It doesn't make me feel better that other people feel the same way, but it's always better to know you're not the only person going through something. We all are unique, but our situations aren't always that unique. A lot of us struggle with the same issues. So in that same breath, it's like I'm very thankful and blessed in what I have and how far I've come and the obstacles that I've gone through to get to where I am now. It's just that those negative intrusive thoughts are still there sometimes. So especially my kids, I don't want them to see me being upset or sad during these times, because that's just going to make them sad. And, as they get older, their memories are going to be like, oh, my mom was just like blah during this time. And that's going to carry on onto them. And I don't want that to happen. So then this theme of acceptance has been presented, and it made me think about forgiveness as well and how it ties into people who've experienced trauma. You know, the rhetoric is that in the past, to move on, you have to forgive and forget in order to be released from the trauma. But I do not think that is true. And many other people don't think that's true either, because I think people get confused with accepting what happened because you can't change it versus forgiving what happened. Because a lot of things, I didn't ask for that to happen. Why do I need to forgive it? Why do I need to forgive the person or the thing, the event? Why do I need to forgive that to move forward? So acceptance, again, is realizing that you have no control over other people or things that may have happened to you, but that you are willing to take the steps for yourself to move forward. To forgive is something personal, meaning that is a personal decision that you can make for yourself if you want to. But I believe we can still be generational trauma breakers without forgiving those who have hurt us. But to move forward, you do have to accept what happened. I was listening to another podcast that I like. It's called Diary of an Empath with or by Keresse Thompson. And this episode was with a woman named Mariel Buque. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She is a doctor and she is a renowned intergenerational trauma expert. And so in this episode, they highlighted, it's called Break the Cycle if you want to go watch the episode or listen to the episode. But I love how she highlighted in her book, because Mariel wrote a book about acceptance. And I haven't read the book yet, but it is on my list of books to read. So I encourage you guys to check out her book. And if you read it before me, please let me know how you feel about it, what you like about it, what you learn. All of the things. You can send me a DM, you can send me an email, whatever works for you. I would love to hear about that. I want to give you guys a call to action, something that you can walk away with from today, and to highlight, you know, your path to acceptance, basically. So first, I want to give you guys the actual steps towards acceptance. And again, if you research this, you may find some people say like the 3 steps towards acceptance or the 5 stages of acceptance. But, you know, it's sums it up to this basically. There is the first stage is denial, which is kind of like a prelude to the stages, because if you're in denial, that means you're not even ready to accept anything yet. But that's kind of first what you have to get through to get you to the next step. And then the second is recognition. So you recognize that there's a problem, but you haven't surrendered to it yet. You're just like, oh, well, it's not, I mean, it is what it is. It's a problem, but it's not my problem, you know, that type of stuff. So then the third stage is resignation. And this is where you're like closer to a full holding of the truth, but there's this, well, there's nothing I can do about it, like a helplessness part of it. Like the recognition, the second step is more like helplessness, but you're like helplessness with a stank face. And then the third one, which is resignation, that's more helplessness when you actually realize that it is pouring into your life and you feel like you can't do anything about it and it's actually upsetting you and it's affecting your emotions. And then the fourth is accepting, you know, I got it. Now what? I understand that this is my issue. Now what do I do about it? You're looking for an outcome. You're looking for the next steps to progress. And then the fifth is embrace. So this is like, you know, I'll work through it, and you kind of somewhat draw into the experience more of like, okay, I've been through this and I'm working through it. I'm researching, I'm doing some self-discovery. And now I'm realizing like, wow, I was chosen on this path and I overcame it. So what does that mean about me and my life and my higher purpose? And I feel like that's where I'm at for sure. I can definitely relate to being like looking back at myself and sitting there thinking like, wow, I went through that. And it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, or whatever. And I'm here now, and I'm in a better space. I don't want to say because of it, because that's really hard to accept, that something terrible had to happen for there to be like a silver lining. But instead, you just accept it. So then everything you do moving forward, you have that in the back of your mind being your motivation. So what I want you guys to do with this information is I want you to write out the areas in your life that bring you sadness, confusion, anger, anything that is not the feeling of contentment or balance. And then I want you to write down ways that you can change it, not anyone else, not like the world, like, oh, if this didn't happen, then I wouldn't be sad. No, I want you to look at your life and the things that are happening. It can be something small, like something messes up your day, but I want you to write down the feeling you have towards it and what it is, and what you can do to change the way that you feel about that situation, or the situation itself, if you can. You may find that there are some things that leave you feeling like there's nothing you can do about it that'll make the outcome any different. And those, you want to take note on them, because if they involve another person, and it's a person who makes you feel uncomfortable, unsafe, upset, sad, and nothing that you can do can change what they're doing, then you may have to remove that person from your life or limit the time that they have, in your space. But you always have to put it back on you, not to blame yourself, but in order to gain control of the situation. Now, again, life is life, and you can't control everything. You can't control if a natural disaster happens or anything of that matter, but everything that happens afterwards, you can try to understand it and see what you can do that can change the feelings that come up for you. Like, for example, okay, I become hangry by 12 p.m. if I haven't eaten my breakfast, specifically a nutritious one. Like, then I'm gonna be more upset if I'm like, oh my God, I was so hungry and I had to go grab a damn, Chick-fil-A biscuit sandwich or something, which, I mean, they're so yummy. But I'm gonna be mad because I'm like, I started my day off with all those carbs and fats and all that stuff. So instead of me waiting until I'm hangry, you got to take it back. And I have to be like, well, what can I do to set up myself so that in the morning when I'm rushing, the kids are rushing out the house, I'm rushing out the house. There's very little time, before then and my first client. What can I do to change that? And I have to plan ahead. I have to make sure I purchase items in my house that I can grab and go. I need to have everything out the night before. There's A, B, and C things that I can do to prevent myself from being hangry the next day because I didn't eat my breakfast. So that's just one example. There's plenty more out there, and there's a lot more that are more complex than that, but that's just like a simple one. So the point is that we accept things that are outside of our control and we stop trying to control them. We can balance our nervous system that way, by, instead of presenting it with a problem from someone else or something that's happening, we figure out a plan to minimize the actions that person or thing is bringing onto our life or your life that negatively affects you. So I hope all of that is really helpful in someone's self-healing journey. It surely is for mine. And just a simple reminder that, we're put on this earth for a reason, and we have to we have to make the best out of it. And who wants to be here every day, sad and depressed about the things that have happened to us in our past, if we still have the opportunity and the blessing to still be here on earth? Again, we can't live a life of perfection, and we can't completely take away things that make us uncomfortable, but we can sure as hell create tools to help us when we need to navigate through those feelings. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Again, like, share, subscribe, send me a message, tell me what you feel about it, and I will see you next week. Let's stay connected. You can find me on Instagram at imbalancedwithcat or on my website, imbalancedpod.com. Give me a follow or a podcast review, and I'd love to share it on air. Thanks again for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show.